Earlier this week, on Monday, in your keynote, you announced some pretty exciting goals looking beyond the 12.04 release into 14.04. You talked about having Ubuntu everywhere across multiple devices. That included the traditional PC. Can you talk a little bit about that announcement on Monday?
Sure. So 12.04 is the culmination of 2 years of work, 3 previous releases running up to 12.04 itself. So the scope for change in 12.04 is fairly narrow, but it's also a great opportunity for us to start looking at the next 2-year cycle. It's become increasingly clear on the client side, when we talk about Linux for human beings, which is our mission, that the opportunity is there to bring that free software experience to a much wider audience. But if we're going to do that, we have to bring it across a much wider portfolio of experiences, portfolio of categories and devices. So that really, this is really us setting the scene for a series of conversations about what Ubuntu on these different categories would mean. We had amazing discussions this week with folks from various companies and communities, all of whom sense this opportunity. I think everybody's quite sanguine about the challenges. Ubuntu Core, kind of the engine room of Ubuntu, is unique in that it runs today on the hardware that is used from phones to high-end servers. So we have a great start in that core. We have to figure out what we want to express to the user.
Last UDS, you announced that you really wanted to reach that mark of 200
million users
in 4 years. In addition to servers, PCs, tablets, phones, smart screens, how else do you see Ubuntu reaching the masses, going beyond even 200 million?
So we've seen with Android, we've seen how quickly a good platform can spread when manufacturers don't have a vested interest one way or the other. And our goal is to take advantage of that, to deliver a platform that manufacturers are going to love and users are going to embrace. I think it's clear that design has to be central to that. We won't deliver something to that audience that really rocks their world unless we start from the point of view of saying it's got to be great, it's got to be beautiful. But we really have some of that DNA now. It's been rough in pulling it together, but you saw the design sessions and how passionate people are about just getting it right, getting it perfect. We have a group of leaders emerging who speak authoritatively about design, have clear ideas, and increasingly they have the ear of developers who want their stuff to be beautiful and functional and effective. I think there's a growing recognition in the free software community that it's not enough just to be stable, and it's not enough just to be fast, and it's not enough from a platform point of view just to be virus free. You've got to be punchy and clear and beautiful. So we have that gene, and it's a question of producing some focused, directed efforts around that.
Speaking of those focused, directed efforts, one of the things that was brought up in conversation in some of the hallway tracks was it's been 7 years. And the vision you had 7 years ago when this project really got off the ground was revolutionary at that moment in time. It was a new idea. The announcement on Monday was new and fresh and bright as well. What do you, when you look at that vision from where you saw it 7 years ago to where it is today to where it will be maybe in another 7 years, do you think the vision you have right now is as clear and concise and precise as what it will be, say, 5 years from now? What do you think Ubuntu will be 5 years from now?
Ubuntu, we have the elements of that. We have Ubuntu 1 as a service framework, which other people can take and run with and use. We have Unity as an interface framework, which other people can take and evolve. And we have me and the rest of Canonical totally focused on delivering that. And I think that needs to remain our focus. The technology platforms are going to change dramatically. What should be consistent throughout all of that is the spirit of the community, which, you know, has this singular mission and has this, I think, very high class way of working, you know, internally with itself, attracting new people and promoting those who you know, deliver the goods. The moonshot world. In that world, I think Ubuntu has a tremendous role to play. We're already the number one platform on Amazon Web Services, number one platform on Rackspace, which are, you know, have similar economics, and I'm sure we'll be the number one platform for people who are building out large clouds. So I think it's exciting.
In mentioning the cloud, one of the other themes that seem, or sessions, I shouldn't say themes, but one of the more popular sessions at this UDS were the cloud sessions, the Juju sessions, the charm session, and even charm school. I don't think the word charm school would, you know, 5 years ago people would have said would have been associated with Ubuntu, but in talking to those folks this week, it's been really exciting to see the work that they're doing. And talking to people who test drove the cloud when you guys offered that, it was very positive reviews.
Juju, you know, really has that feel of clarity. You just say, you know, give me WordPress or give me a load balanced web front end, and it has that Rails-like sense of not repeating yourself. You know, the system knows what you asked of it, so, and it's never going to forget that. So you can keep moving forward. It's, you know, it's interesting to speculate where that'll go, but for now, I think it's just delightful to see how excited people are about it, and how much energy and buzz and kind of competitive rivalry there was between the charmers.
I know when we were in Budapest last cycle, I sat down with the orchestra team and I said, what does this mean to end users, just not sysadmins? And they're like, well, it's not for just typical end users. However, that has changed in the last 6 months with Juju and these charms. I also test drove the cloud and was able to deploy a WordPress site in under an hour, a Drupal site in under an hour. So while there is that enterprise aspect of it, while there is that developer aspect of it, it is now reaching just end users, just people who want to deploy one site. And then learning that Juju could be deployed on bare metal was pretty exciting as well. So for me, and for other people in the community, they're going, wow, this is exciting, because we thought it was only going to be for developers and enterprise level. It actually brings it to the user. And that's another thing that in your vision 7 years ago, and how you've embodied it, Linux for human beings. You did.
So that's a really interesting point. You talk about you know, end users deploying stuff. I think that is a part of the future. You know, already we have the personal cloud, Ubuntu 1 is an example, iCloud is another, and that's, you know, my stuff in the cloud, right? And there's sort of my applications that get to it. But it's kind of like the cloud's relationship with me. But there's also a sense in which I want to be able to connect to and publish to the rest of the world. And right now you're limited to doing that through, you know, other people's services, Facebook or Google+. And it may well be that, in fact, people want to say, you know, give me my own presence. It used to be that involved setting up a server and system administration. In future, it's much more like saying, you know, deploy that service. And the pendulum currently has swung towards, you know, consuming that service from companies like Facebook and Google. But there are some challenging issues there in terms of privacy and your ability to maintain control of your own data. So what if you could deploy the services that you wanted to the infrastructure that you wanted under your own control, and do all of that, you know, from the desktop without ever needing to be a Linux system administrator? That's a nice kind of personal vision for services in the cloud. And if we do a great job of Juju, then it will be relevant as, you know, a cog in the wheel, you know, of the machine that makes that possible.
Very exciting.
Summit was a whole group, a very diverse group of people with leadership talent stepping up to say, I love this project, I want it both to grow further and to retain its sort of core set of values. I think, the reason that's exciting is because there's no way we would make it through this next 2 years to 200 million users, to a consumer Linux for everybody on all of these platforms, unless we can figure out how to scale the community. And we won't scale the community, with the same set of personalities. They'll just burn out. So it gave me a lot of hope. I think there will be challenges, but we have a fantastic new community council. We have a lot of concentrated, organized energy, and I think we have the support of enough people to give it a go.
I think you're 100% right. On a side note, in reading some of the news sites this week after you made your announcement, Stephen Von Nichols compared you, said that you were the closest thing Linux had to what Apple had with Steve Jobs in terms of your vision. What do you think about when people compare you or say that you're our visionary for Linux?
I think it's dangerous to put anybody on a pedestal. I love reading about great people, and I love reading about their flaws, because I think what makes somebody like Nelson Mandela great is the fact that they, achieved what they achieved despite being human. And I think often we look at someone and we say, well, they're great, they must be somehow special, they must be somehow better than everybody else, they must be somehow better. The reality is, I think everybody, has their vulnerabilities, their weak points, their challenges, and perhaps I'm more conscious of those things in myself than anybody else, because I really do have lots of challenges. I don't think the vision of one person is worth a damn unless there are others that can complement that and get it done. I don't think one person with all of the failings that one person is going to have can get anything done unless there are others that will complement that. And if Ubuntu has made great progress, it's because of all of those other people who get it done, and get it done with such charm and taste.
Mark, thank you so much for sitting down with me here at the 1204 LTS Developer Summit and going through these small announcements, well, they're not small announcements, these big announcements that happened this week, looking at 1204, looking at 1404 and beyond. I'm excited. I know everyone here is excited. So thank you so much.
It's going to be a wild 2 years. Thanks very much for your own leadership in the community. I look forward to your weekly Ubuntu news email, and it's a great way to keep up with everything that's happening.
Thank you.
Stay well.